You can build an empire, break records, win championships, create change on a global scale, but if you don't learn how to lead in your marriage, none of that will matter when the person you love the most says she's done. Now think about it. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Jeff Bezos, Tiger Woods, Paul McCartney, Cal Ripken, Lance Armstrong, Shaquille O'Neal, Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford, all divorced. Elon Musk, multiple divorces. Tom Cruise, divorced 3 times. Rupert Murdoch, divorced 4 times. I could keep going, but I'd like to keep this episode under 90 minutes. Here's the point. These are men at the top of their fields: sports, business, entertainment, politics. They mastered performance, they mastered pressure, they mastered success. They were world-class at what they did, except when it came to marriage. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why that is and how you can avoid making the same mistake. We'll talk about the myth of performance-based love, how success at work can sabotage your relationship, and why your calendar might be the most honest measure of how your marriage is doing. Stick around. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome to Better Husband, the podcast that helps you answer the question, how can I be a better husband? I'm Angelo Santiago, a men's marriage and relationship coach, and every week I bring you practical insights to help you strengthen your marriage and become the best husband you can be. I was talking to a client the other day. The guy's extremely successful, has started and run multiple businesses, works with high-end clients, and is doing extremely well financially. He's been able to provide his wife and his family a life that he probably never could have dreamed of. And still, his marriage is falling apart. He started listing it all out. Everything he'd done, everything he provided, the years of hard work, the financial stability, the sacrifices he'd made so his family could have the kind of life that he never had growing up. And then he said something that stopped me. He couldn't understand why it still wasn't enough, why she still felt unhappy, why their connection felt so distant even after everything he'd built for them. And I told him the truth. You've given her everything except you, not your presence, not your heart, not the real you, the one that slows down and listens and connects. The same drive that made him successful at work was crushing his relationship at home. And that's what this episode is about. Because whether you're a top performer or just trying to hold it all together, if you don't know how to lead relationally in your marriage with conscious connection, with emotional skill, you will lose everything you are working so hard to protect. Let's look at the scoreboard. Michael Jordan, widely considered the greatest basketball player of all time, but off the court, his marriage ended after 17 years. The headlines weren't about betrayal, they were about distance, priorities, absence. Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowl rings, built like a machine, but when he unretired for one more season, his wife said she was done. She didn't want to be married to someone who chose the game over family again. Jeff Bezos built Amazon from his garage, became the richest man on earth, lost his marriage in the process. Tiger Woods, we all know the story. Fame, performance, and the pattern of disconnection and escapism behind the scenes. Elon Musk, brilliant, relentless, revolutionary, but by his own admission, he's lonely. He's been divorced multiple times, and he's publicly said he hates being alone. And I'll be honest, I don't know everything about these men or their relationships. I'm not here to dissect their private lives or pretend I know all the details, but I do know this. They missed something. They mastered success in one arena and neglected the other. At some point, you have to bring you to your marriage, not your title, not your achievements, but your heart, your attention, your willingness to engage even when it's uncomfortable. Most of us were taught early on how to succeed in sports and business, school, competition, but we were never taught how to succeed at home. And that's why so many marriages struggle or quietly fall apart. If that's you right now, it's not too late. But here's where you need to start. You have to stop assuming that being great out there will automatically make things better in here. It won't. You need a different skill set, and that's what we're going to talk about next. In your work, the things that make you successful are crystal clear. You stay driven, you plan ahead, you solve problems fast and keep moving, you stay focused, you hit goals, you handle business. But that mindset might make you a great entrepreneur or leader or athlete, whatever lane you're in. But if you bring that same mindset into your marriage, it's going to backfire because your wife isn't a project. She's not something to manage or fix, and she doesn't want your strategy. She's not looking for a 5-year plan. She's looking for connection. She's looking for intimacy. She's looking for the man she fell in love with and married now, today. And if your calendar is packed with meetings and clients and workouts and lists, and there's no space carved out for your wife, for intimacy, for play, for repair, for rest, you will feel the consequences. Because it doesn't matter how much money you're making or how successful you are. If she feels like she's the last on your list, eventually she'll stop trying to stay on it. So let's talk about the modern marriage, because everything I'm sharing with you now wasn't the case just a generation ago. Real quick, before we get back to the show, if you're like me and you're a busy husband with a lot on your plate, sometimes you hear something on this podcast, an idea or a specific practice or a suggestion, and you have every intention of doing the thing that you just heard. But life gets busy and sometimes you forget. Well, that's why I created the Better Husband Toolkit. This is a short, concise, downloadable cheat sheet with 3 of the most important relational skills I believe every husband should know and have in their tool belt in order to improve their marriage. If you're asking yourself, how can I be a better husband today? Go to betterhusbandtoolkit.com and download the short document. And if you have any questions, you can email me. I'd be happy to offer you some more support. Again, go to betterhusbandtoolkit.com or click the link in the show notes and get your toolkit today. Now back to the show. We don't live in the 1950s anymore. Back then, a man went to work, he provided, he protected, he came home, and for a lot of couples, that was enough. But today, it's different. Today's marriage doesn't want your paycheck. It wants your presence. It wants your attention. It wants emotional connection, mutual respect, real intimacy. And if that makes you uncomfortable, I get it. Most of us weren't taught how to do any of that. Nobody sat us down and said, hey, here's how you repair after a fight. Nobody modeled what it's looked like to stay soft and open when things get tense and tight. Nobody told us that emotional distance is just as damaging as, say, financial instability. But this is the reality of marriage today. You can't just show up strong and silent and expect connection. You can't disappear into work and assume she'll wait forever. You can't keep reacting, shutting down, or powering through and think that's leadership. Modern marriage requires more, and that's not a burden, it's an invitation. It's an invitation to grow, to show up, to become a more well-rounded man, and to show your kids, if you have them, what a strong relationship looks like, because they're watching, paying attention, and they're learning from what you do or don't do. Now, a lot of men I work with won't say it out loud, but they feel it. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I work hard, I provide, I protect. Why do I have to carry the emotional weight in this relationship too? It's like they're walking around with a mental ledger, tallying up every sacrifice, every effort, every unspoken, I did this for you. And they're confused, maybe even resentful that it's not enough. And here's the problem. That mindset, that fairness script, it will kill your marriage. Because intimacy isn't built on evenness, it's built on generosity. And keeping score is the fastest way to drain all the love, connection, and safety out of your relationship. Let me remind you once again, if you're using the 1950s playbook, you're going to lose. This isn't a world where most women are at home, dependent, and grateful for a man who pays the bills and keeps the light on. Most women today are out there crushing it too. A lot of the men I coach, their wives are the financial leaders of the household. And yet those same women are still expected to cook, clean, plan the social calendar, keep the emotional temperature of the household steady, and be warm and available at all times. If you think you're protecting her by working 60 hours a week while never showing up for the conversations that matter, let me be clear. She doesn't need a bodyguard. She needs a partner. The kind of protection your marriage needs isn't physical, it's emotional. She needs to feel safe with you, safe to bring her truth, safe to be messy sometimes, safe to trust that you'll stay grounded when she's not, that you won't run away when she's emotional. That's your job. Not because you're the man, but because you're in a relationship. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe there are important masculine and feminine dynamics in a marriage. There's real beauty in the polarity of those roles when they're healthy, mutual, and conscious. But the roles handed to us by outdated culture, the ones that tell women to stay small, quiet, or selfless while men stay hardened, distant, and emotionally unreachable, we're done with that. If you're still clinging on to the belief that your effort at work should automatically buy you peace at home, let me say this as clearly as I can. Your marriage is not a transaction, and your worth as a husband is not measured by your paycheck. It's measured by your presence, by your honesty, by your willingness to repair, by how you respond when she's hurting, by whether she feels safe and seen and supported with you. So if you're keeping score, stop. Don't focus on what you're doing more than your partner. Focus on what it takes to be in relationship with your partner. That does mean emotional heavy lifting at times. That does mean checking in, not checking out. And that does mean showing up even when you don't feel like it sometimes. Because love isn't fair. It's generous. And as it's been said, love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Love isn't about tallying points or keeping track of who's doing more. It's about choosing how to show up, even when it's not your turn. Even when you feel like you've already done enough. And it gets stronger when both people stop asking, what do I get? And start asking, how can I show up better? How can I give them what they want from me? So here are some action steps I want you to take from this episode. First, audit your calendar. Look at last week. How much time did you spend being relational at home? Not just physically present there, but emotionally available. If the answer is not enough, schedule some time to make that happen. Literally, put it in your calendar and treat it as a non-negotiable. Prioritize your marriage. Next, notice where you're keeping score. Where are you waiting for it to be fair before you re-engage? Where are you holding back love, effort, or presence? Next, reflect on what your fairness mindset is costing you. What have you already lost or started to lose by keeping score or holding back or waiting for her to go first? What's at risk if that pattern doesn't change? And lastly, take this action. Initiate one generous act this week. Not because she earned it, not because it's your turn, but because you want to, and you know it will make your marriage stronger. Here are some questions for you to reflect on. 1, what are you chasing that might be costing you your marriage? 2, what does your calendar say about your real priorities? 3, where are you showing up with excellence for the world, but mediocrity at home? Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. You can be the GOAT, the greatest of all time in your field. You can dominate in business. You can crush it at work. But if your wife feels alone, if your marriage is falling apart, what's it really worth? Think about the men we named at the start of this episode. Jordan, Brady, Woods. Imagine what they'd give for a second chance, to avoid the courtroom, to spare their kids the pain, to still have the woman they once loved beside them. You've done the work out there, now it's time to do the work in here. And the good news is that you don't have to do it alone. If you're ready for some structure, some real tools, and the kind of support that actually changes things, come check out Better Husband Academy. It's where I teach men how to stop reacting and start leading and finally build the marriage they want. Go to betterhusbandacademy.com or just click the link in the show notes. Thanks for joining me here on Better Husband. I'm so grateful to be able to share this message and know that you're out there listening and doing the work of becoming a better husband. I'm Angelo Santiago. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, I have a quick request. If you've ever gotten any value from the show and you want the show to continue to grow, to access bigger and more knowledgeable guests, and to keep providing you with more ways that you can be a better husband in your marriage, simply leave a rating and a review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a few seconds, and those reviews go a long way in attracting more experts and bigger guests to the show. So if you're feeling up to it, as a favor to me, I'd love to see a rating and a review from you. Thank you so much for being a listener and all your support.